everybody's today on Studio 10. We also wanted to travel back in time because there's a lot about our past that can teach us about the present and really show us how to proceed into the future. And here to explain it all is Todd of Waverly High School. How are you this afternoon?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. You've caused a lot of commotion, but in a really great way at Waverly High School, where you're a teacher.
Yes.
But you brought a little bit of your classroom to WILX today, specifically your lesson in World War II. So talk to us about this project that you're working on in the class.
Well, I like to use historical artifacts to bring history to life. History is not always the most exciting things for every student, so I try to do what I can to bring it to life. And historical artifacts is something they can touch, handle, look at, read. Is something that helps bring it to life for them.
Well, FYI, history was my favorite.
Oh, okay, great.
I love social studies growing up. Just wanted to say that because really the past can tell you a lot about where you are right now. And I love the fact that you understand that, hey, every student learns differently. Some people need a textbook, but others, maybe they need to feel, like you said, they need to touch some of these different artifacts that you have here. But why did you want to start this collection inside Waverly High School? Well, again, just to engage students and get them interested in history.
It started a few years ago with the National World War II Museum has a program called Operation Footlocker, where they loan extra artifacts basically they have in a box basically to a teacher for a week. And that's where my interest in World War II started. And then I did a study at the National World War II Museum back in 2019 for a whole week. And I met the person in charge of the Operation Footlocker thing, and I was involved with the group here in Michigan. So they hooked me up with a couple artifacts like this one as well. Yeah. And a couple things. And that's where I'm like, oh, you can actually own some of this stuff and use it in the classroom.
That's right. So now you've owned a lot of this that you have here. Now tell me, what have you learned about World War II since putting this together at Waverly High School?
Well, it's one thing I don't know if I've learned a lot personally, but it's helped students to learn. So like, you know, we might talk about rationing, for example, during World War II. This is a real ration book from the war.
Okay, yeah, show us exactly what this looks like. What exactly was rationing back then?
So the government put restrictions on items that were scarce. So a lot of food items, meat, butter, sugar, gas, tires, nylons, things like that as well. Wow. So
they kept track of it.
They kept track of that with these stamps. So I don't know exactly how each stamp works, but basically in order to buy one of these restricted items, you had to have the stamp saying you were allowed to have that as well.
Wow.
So just to save resources, basically.
Wow. Now talk to me about some of the other things that you have here. I know we have a picture of Life magazine.
Yeah, some Life magazines I've collected. Students enjoy these as well.
Okay.
One from 1943.
That's wonderful. Can we open it inside and just kind of see what a magazine looked like back then?
Yeah, but they're a little fragile.
And can I tell you, there's a lot of students these days, you probably know more than I do, who probably don't use magazines. Everything's online, everything's in our phone.
Well, you know, what's interesting that we had a big World War II artifact day a couple weeks ago at my school, and newspapers were one of the things that they were really surprised with, because they don't read print newspapers. So I had some newspapers from that era that they were looking through, and they're like, people just sat here and read this big thing? Like, I was shocked.
Yes, actually they did. Let me tell you, you're probably creating some future journalists too as well.
Maybe.
Now, Todd, what about our past, especially of World War II, can that teach us about the present?
Well, I think we have our challenges in the world right now with totalitarianism spreading in the world, and I think we should need to look back at history at how the world dealt with that in the 1930s and early 1940s for lessons about maybe how we should handle that today.
That's right, how we can handle that today, but what can World War II also teach us about our future as well?
Well, sometimes Americans have to sacrifice, and that was a big thing about World War II, is everyone was doing something, whether it be, you know, the soldiers that were being drafted or enlisting, the women that were working in the factories during the war, even children got involved with like buying war bonds and recycling things. So all this is, I think it took a big sacrifice, and that brought Americans together for this one common cause that I think we could learn from too.
Absolutely. And overall, as a teacher, what's been the most rewarding part about this project?
Just to see kids kind of light up when they get to handle the artifacts. When we did our big World War II event a couple weeks ago, we had a student that started, it was like, why are we looking at all this old stuff? Like, I'm not interested. And then once he got into it and got to look at it and touch the stuff and like realize what it was and how it was helping him connect to history, it was like a light bulb went off over in his head.
Oh, that is awesome. Well, thank you so much for sparking that light bulb within all of us here on Studio 10. And thank you so much for joining us this afternoon and truly giving us a lesson in history, the past, the present, and the future.
You're welcome.
All right, well, everybody stick around. Studio 10 isn't over yet. We've got a lot more after the break.